Well, joining us now is Deacon Tim Donohue, who is a repeat guest, special guest as well. He's the Diocesan Director for Catholic Relief Services, and he's here to talk about the famous CRS Rice Bowl that aims to feed the poor. And thank you so much, Tim, for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
50 years.
50 years.
50 years.
Yeah.
From
amazing.
humble beginnings in a small parish in Pennsylvania, they wanted to do something special, and they did it, and CRS picked it up nationally, and it's been going on ever since. Hundreds of millions of dollars has been collected through this little tiny rice bowl.
And let's get into the Rice Bowl too, just in case someone might not know about the Rice Bowl. Maybe if you could talk about that, how people can participate in the program. Let's start off with that. Yeah.
The Rice Bowl is a parish-centric organization or program, and hopefully your parishes will have these Rice Bowls for you. And if they don't, you can go to crsricebowl.org and get your own, make your own donations. Okay. The idea here is that these little rice bowls that the bishop has carefully put together here with great skill could sit on your kitchen table. And as you go through your different meals in the day, you can think about the children that are highlighted through this Lent from Guatemala, Bangladesh, or Nigeria. Learn a little bit more. There's a calendar inside here that talks about each day. It has a little story about people and kids in those countries. And in thinking about them, you can think about what they might not have that you have. And in doing that, make a contribution every day, every meal. If you give up a candy bar or a soda or a McDonald's, you can put that money in the Rice Bowl. And at the end of Lent, you pass it back in at your parish.
You know, I'm on the board for Catholic Relief Services, as you might know, and I am a big supporter of the work of CRS. But I got to ask you, because I'm just curious, in this day and age, do people still, we don't have pennies pretty much anymore, but do people still put coins in these, or do they go more online at crs.org?
They go online, crs.org. Some of the parishes will let you just, at the end of Lent, write a check and put it in the collection basket saying, this is for Rice Bowl. Some people keep a tab right on that table under the Rice Bowl of, I want to give $2 today. I want to give $3 today. You know, it used to be, I said, you throw in 50 cents for a cup of coffee, but that shows my age now. A cup of coffee is about $4.50.
That was a long time ago, Tim.
Talk about, if you could, Tim, the CRS and what it does and where these funds are going to. And I know the great work that CRS does not only in just providing things, but also empowering people to do things as well. And maybe you could talk about that.
How long's the show?
I know.
I'm a global fellow for CRS. I'm also a head of a chapter in Boston. The chapter in Boston puts together the Rice Bowl workshop every January. As a global fellow, CRS sent me to Kenya to see the work that they do. And what they do, what they did in this village in Kenya, on the western slope of Kenya, that had been ravaged by AIDS, is they have multi-layered programs there. So they brought all of the women together. The women were the widows of AIDS victims there back in the 90s. They brought them together because they were ashamed that their husband had died. And they brought them together and talked to them and then empowered them to run their farms. The husbands had run the farms. So they helped them with all these different levels. They trained them in how to grow the crops. They trained them in how to grow moisture-resistant crops because the rainfall was changing. They helped them with livestock where they couldn't grow enough out of the crops to feed their family. They taught them how to bring the crops to market. They set up a micro bank in the village so they could borrow from each other to get a gallon of kerosene, for instance, and they would break it into pint-sized cans of kerosene and then sell it in the village and make money over that transaction there. They buy sewing machines. It's extraordinary to me. This woman here, Pamela, they helped her with antiretrovirals because of the PEPFAR program through President Bush years ago. These people were going to die if they didn't get treatment. They have AIDS. Pamela has AIDS. and they helped with those dosages every week so that they'd have regular drugs to help them. Pamela now is not getting those drugs because of the stop orders that have gone through our government as they reassess how they do international humanitarian aid. CRS is focused on international humanitarian aid. Catholic Charities, another part of USCCB, the Catholic Bishops Association of America, they focus within the U.S. CRS focuses outside the U.S.
Okay. Tim, you mentioned the pausing of government aid through formerly coming from U.S. aid. Does that create an even more desperate situation and the need for people to be generous this year to Operation Rice Bowl?
It does. It does. CRS has unfortunately had to lay off almost half of their organization because of this stop order. Even if those funds come back, they have no money to pay these people in between. There are seeds that are rotting right now in warehouses because they can't distribute them to farmers who can't plant their crops this year because they don't have those seeds. There's a program in Ethiopia that feeds 2 million people a day, and they don't have the people to get that food, which is grown by farmers in the United States, to those people. In addition, there are infants, 70,000 infants that are in a special program. They have a special formula for babies that are in starvation mode, that are dying, actually.
I see.
And they can't distribute that anymore. There are clinics that just aren't able to operate now. So all of these things have all of a sudden radically just shut down, and there are people at risk.
And with that, knowing that it is very important year, on this 50th year, talk to us about how people can get more involved. How can they find out more about CRS? How can they get a rice bowl if they don't have one yet?
So you can call the Archdiocese and ask for me, and I'll get back to you, I promise. You can go to crsricebowl.org, and you can get your rice bowl information. You can make a donation there. If you want to get more involved with the work that CRS does, CRS has set up this organization called Chapters. And I am the co-chair of the Boston chapter. We have people from different parishes around that all meet regularly once a month to talk about what we can do to raise money for CRS and to help with different projects such as the Rice Bowl workshop that we have every January.
Wow. Now, during the Rice Bowl workshop, do you teach people how to put the box together, or do they have to call me for that information?
You know, I'm going to invite you next year so you can handle that for us, okay? Because we brought in a speaker from Buffalo and a speaker from...
And I bet none of them mentioned how to put it together.
No.
See that? They forget the details. The devil is in the details.
Well, thanks so much, Tim, for being here. We appreciate it. We appreciate all the work that you do for CRS as well.
Well, thank you for helping me do that work. So this is just terrific. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. We're on the same team.
CRSRicebowl.org. Get a rice bowl.